Daybreak on the Rise News. Time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. Let's begin with this day, and it's leading with 100 days to presidential poll. Tinubu says, God bless PD, APC. That might be a new party. And he says, God bless PD, prophetic. The PDP is taking that up. They're saying it's a prophetic declaration that they might emerge victorious next year. Ahmed says no going back on phased petrol subsidy removal in 2023. And high energy costs, disruption in food supply chain push inflation in Nigeria to 21.09%.
And let's take a look at the Punch newspaper this morning. Now, VIPs hit plateau with 30 private chartered jets. And Soludo's position doesn't reflect Southeast stand, says Obi. Can meet Tinubu Atiku Obi today. And court halt Nigeria Air Minister says project unstoppable. Still in the Punch, Ngige hates ASU, responsible for half pay, says lecturers. And Diri cabinet ministers for downplaying Bayelsa flawed.
Well, the Nation newspaper says Tinubu that's a comment from the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress. Of course, they took their campaign, the flag off, happened in Jos Plateau. And that picture there is one which the spokesperson would describe as electrifying, but doesn't look like it. Tinubu is saying brighter days ahead. 3 local operators rejected Nigeria Air offer, and 26 Nigerians and foreigners arraigned for oil theft.
And we'll take a look at The Guardian. Obi replies Soludo as Atiku converses restructuring at the Lagos Business School. And also food energy prices worsens inflation for household. That should be an opinion poll right there in The Guardian this morning. And still in The Guardian, court stops Nigeria Air over pressure from local airlines. And Buhari Adamu Tinubu flag off APC presidential campaign in Jos.
The Sun newspaper, nobody should die for Atiku, Tinubu, Obi and others. That's according to the Catholic cleric Kuka, Father Kuka. And Obi hits back at Soludo. We will ensure Tinubu's victory. And the pledge Buhari Lawan. That's according to President Buhari, Lawan, and Adamu.
And on the foreign scene, we'll look at The Independent. Russia accused of missile strike on NATO country.
And this is The Times. Russians blamed for fatal strike on Poland.
And now let's bring in Emmanuel Bello for the press preview. Thank you for joining us always, Emmanuel. When we start with the headline in our sister publication, a flag off of the APC presidential campaigns that happened in the Plateau State capital, Jos. And there was a whole lot of hullabaloo about what the presidential candidate had to say about wanting to say God bless his party. He called the first 2 letters of the opposition party PD, APC. And that seemed to be like what's making the rounds in the papers this morning. Let's contemplate that for a moment.
Yeah, Benny, we actually said yesterday was going to be a huge event when we talked about it, and yesterday when we say what's going to happen there, I did say here that a lot of people are going to be glued to it to see what especially the candidate, the presidential candidate, will be saying, and he didn't fail us, Benny, as you can see. He did everything that everyone thought he was going to do. There was those faltering steps, and then of course there was that the sleep. Some people say it's Freudian sleeps. Others say that look, it's deliberate. Others say it's actually a sign of what they've always accused him of dementia and all of that. And it's made it to mainstream news. Yesterday, the socials were really having a field day talking about it, making a lot of mockery. And some of the other things he had to say, and the dramas around the flag off itself. Those tidbits seem to have actually drawn out all the things that most speakers said about the future of the party and how they plan to win, and the show of strength. And talking about show of strength, the Punch newspaper is leading with that. The over 20 private jets that stormed Jos. So many angles, Benny, to what happened yesterday. It's strange that the Nation newspaper did not even look at any of those dramas. But yes, this day is focusing on what almost everyone is talking about. The fact that Tinubu suddenly blotted out the first two letters of the opposition party. So many people trying to explain that. Could it be that he had PDP on his mind? Could it be that he was overwhelmed by the situation? But the PDP actually ran with that. It's a moment that PDP really seized on and officially even actually issued a statement. That was how huge that is, that the campaign issued a statement saying that, well, it's signs of good things and that it's a good thing that Tinubu was mentioning the party there. It kind of, I think, it's a last minute rain on the parade, if you wish, and it's dampened the entire thing. I know people, very strong, close, APC people yesterday that were really disappointed at that. And that probably for them might just be the turning point or the breaking point for some people who say, look, we can't really go for this. This for us shows clearly that everything that has been said about this man is true. On a day, it's the biggest day and the biggest speech he needed to make, and then he floundered and mentioned the opposition party. There's a scene where someone was actually shaking his hand and was really worried that he did that. So yes, it's a kind of anticlimax to what should have been actually a good show for the APC.
Well, Emmanuel, the opposition People's Democratic Party has jumped on that train, and the presidential candidate of that party, Atiku Abubakar, is saying that Tinubu's declaration, "God bless PD," is a prophetic word coming from the governing party, and we should look forward to him taking the stand. But Atiku's also been speaking. He's saying his restructuring agenda is to make government more efficient.
Yeah, well, yesterday, Obito spoke yesterday. The three big runners yesterday were all different parts of the world talking. Yes, Atiku was elsewhere talking about his restructuring, talking about what he can do for the country, always trying to project himself as the leader of big ideas on how to turn around the economy. Always, he's very happy when he has those kind of a platform to reel off on the things he will have to do. Obito was somewhere, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, but largely used the opportunity, talk about his ideas once again about how to deal with the crisis of this country. But a robust, Kenneth, I don't know if you noted, a robust reply to Soludo, where he said, a very interesting quote. He said, Soludo now has the opportunity to do better than me. He's even more intelligent than me. He's a professor. I'm a trader. A lot of people think that was a very strong retort coming from Peter Obi. So, three candidates yesterday, three different events, and every one of them had something very interesting to say. I think we're having a field day reporting various angles. Leadership newspaper tried to actually, tie all the reports together in one fell swoop and say all the presidential candidates were out there yesterday marketing, selling their candidacy, and projecting themselves to Nigerians. I think Obi and Atiku had a good day yesterday, but Tinubu not so for him.
And a big headline in the Daily Sun, and it started a few days, Father Kuka still emphasizing the need for peace during the campaign, saying nobody should die for Atiku, Tinubu, or Obi. Now, concerns have been raised, security concerns, and how these candidates are meant to go about their campaigns. Let's remember some weeks back, they signed the peace accord, and we're seeing so much of that peace accord not necessarily being kept by right now. Concerns about security and peace during our campaigns. Bello.
Yeah, it's serious worry, and what Kuka is saying is something that's been done by so many people, traditional rulers, parents, and everything. And this is where civil society need to actually weigh in and tell people this, because at the end of the day, it is not the sons and the daughters of these candidates that go through anything. I can assure you that by now many of them have probably sent their kids abroad. So that leaves the children, our own kids, our younger ones, and the rest of people who don't even benefit after every 4 years to be on the street. So this is actually a timely warning from coming from Bishop Kuka and telling the world that about admonishing. It's something that because even yesterday in Jos we still saw a little bit of that, the clash between young people and police, and I think the armed forces there, and I think there were crises and people were rushed to the hospital and all of that. So we need to actually go beyond this aspect of our politics. It's of campaigning where you have all those crises. So I think that's what Kuka is saying, that look, it's not worth the blood of anyone. Someone who actually said that in a very punchy way was Jonathan one time, when he said his own election is not worth the life of anyone. This is coming from Bishop Kuka, but we need to also hear it from the politicians who actually tell their supporters. They are very excited or excitable supporters that, look, I'm not sending you out to war, I'm sending you out to vote.
Well, Emmanuel, that's coming as, in this day, higher energy costs, disruption in food supply chain push inflation to 21.09%. And this comes as the Minister of Finance is saying there's no going back on the phased removal of petrol subsidy. What are we looking forward to in 2023?
Yeah, well, yes, the phase removal is going to, I think it's going to hurt, but a lot of conversation around the issue of the fuel subsidy. I mean, everyone has weighed on it. I think nobody is a fan of the fuel subsidy. Everyone who's spoken about it, the eggheads, the economists, all the other people, the experts have all agreed that, look, it's a no-win situation around the issue of the fuel subsidy. So it was supposed to be phased out this year, but then it's moved to next year. After that, I think a lot of, it's part now of the conversation around this election. It's on the ballot, the issue of subsidy. I think yesterday one of the presidential candidates again spoke about it. I think it was Atiku who said that, look, subsidy is a curse and that he's going to remove it. So yes, next year is going to be interesting. It's going to be the year of transition, but we're also going to see the after effects of all that has happened this year. A lot of people are predicting more hardship ahead, and troubling times ahead in the midst of an election. So, and it's become part and parcel of the conversation, which is why it's very important, Kenneth, that we consider who is going to run this country next year. We need people with solutions, with ideas that will change our fortunes.
And then we can all but not talk about the ongoing protest between, feud, if I should put it that way, between Ngige and then protesting lecturers about the half pay with ASU. It seems like the situation with ASU and the federal government is not necessarily over. Now it's about the half pay that they got, and they're protesting it.
Yeah, well, it's an ongoing thing between that, but I think what is coming out clearly now is that ASU is actually putting blames on Ngige as a person, saying that it's because of his wrong handling of this situation that we're getting to the point we are getting. So, and that's a very serious twist in the tail, saying that, look, it's a case of one. It's no longer about even policy now. It's about what one person is doing to affect the lives of millions and millions of people. So that's very instructive, and I think that's an aspect of the story that should excite everyone. And probably in Ngige, we have to do a lot of retrospection and say how much of his handling of this is part of the problem. Of course, you can always blame the work ethics of the lecturers anytime, any day, but it's still about leadership and about governance, and that's why the blame now, ASU is very clear about it, that it's Ngige that needs to be blamed.
It's also important to point out that after this back and forth, the students are the ones who will have to bear the burden of the anger from the lecturers, and so we need to do what's right by the students who need to learn. Emmanuel, before we go, overseas, there's been an explosion in NATO member Poland. The Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky is accusing Russia of sending missiles into that country, but investigations are still on, and President Joe Biden is saying it's unlikely that it was fired from Russia. And this is it's coming as the former U.S. President Donald Trump has announced a third run for the presidency of the United States.
Well, the Trump thing is not in the front page of some paper, because like we were discussing earlier, I think it happened very early this morning in terms of timing. But it's a huge event that is rocking international politics, especially the U.S. politics. The return of Donald Trump, and he's coming at the time that his party didn't do very well in the midterm election, or didn't do as they were expecting to do. So his announcement is bound to actually cause a lot of ripples. Yes, that attack on Poland, Russia is saying no, we didn't do it, or it was done in error. That is still being investigated. But again, it's the aftermath of the crisis, the invasion of Ukraine, and that's the problem with wars. You don't know how far it's just like setting fire to the bush. You don't know how far that conflagration is going to go. So this is what we're seeing now. This is a fallout of that invasion, and whether it was done on purpose or it was in error or whatever, this is the awful results of invasions and of war, especially in the 21st century, where serious damage and serious hurt can be exacted on mankind. So investigations are on, but it seems that this is actually a serious fallout of the Russian-Ukraine crisis, and nobody knows where it's going to go from here. But it's a dangerous one, because now NATO will be united against the Poland NATO country. That is what could escalate this to another level. We just pray that the Third World War will not be in the offing.
Thank you, Malabello, for joining us and for your analysis as always. Now that's the press preview. Let's hear your view on all the burning issues. Follow us on Twitter at Arise TV, and you can also join today's conversation using the hashtag AriseDaybreak.